So our fundamental problem statement is pretty straightforward, which I'm sure a lot of your other startups share. There's 4 billion people who lack access to modern healthcare in all parts of the world. They're in rich and in poor countries. And simple medical conditions can be lethal because you don't have timely diagnosis. Accessing healthcare is pretty time consuming and it's costly. And that's because finding out what's wrong with you through the diagnosis workflow is pretty outdated. And this is both true in rich and in poor countries. In the developed world, it's an aging issue. Number of people above the age of 65 is going to grow to about 1.5 billion people. In the US, for instance, there's about 10,000 people who turn 65 every single day. And I'm just pegging this to the US, but this is true in Singapore or Japan or anywhere else. And this longevity economy is about $7 trillion already today, and technology is going to be the solution here in dealing with many of the health issues here. And the challenge is to figure out the balance between high tech and high touch. And people do want high touch as well. Now, the pathway to diagnosis is a problem because there's just not enough doctors out there who can actually provide the pattern recognition. That is what diagnosis is really around. The left side shows the current process, which is a patient books an appointment, goes to a doctor, gets his medical records reviewed.
Hey, Ramanan, sorry to, but I think your slides are not changing. I can only see the first slide here. I don't know if it's the same case with others as well.
I don't know. I'm seeing it on my side. Can you all see my slides?
Yeah, all we're seeing is your cover slide. I thought you were just giving a very long introduction.
No. You know what? I'm gonna switch over to the PowerPoint version. Maybe the hang on a second.
Thanks, Venkatesh. Good catch.
Thank you. Yeah. So let me see if. Are you able to see the second slide?
Yep. Yeah. But you can go quickly through them because I want to make sure we have time to ask some questions.
All right, sure. So, so the whole idea is to have a diagnostic platform where you can get point of care tests done, but in a way that is easy to use. That's similar. See, the problem is similar to having a mainframe computer, which is what a diagnostic lab is. And we think that in about 5 years from now, what point of care will be is similar to a laptop compared to a diagnostic lab. The diagnostic lab is bigger, better, probably more accurate, but the laptop is going to get better and better, and pretty soon people won't recognize the difference. That's really what HealthCube is around. So our aim is to be the healthcare platform for billions of people, really to build a full stack solution that provides diagnosis cheaply. We have an open architecture that other providers can build applications on top of. So our core is a hub, which can do about 40 plus basic vital tests, in vitro diagnostics, and it's a modular structure that evolves over time. Everything is run off of an app on a phone, which has an intuitive user interface that can help do these tests in a way that your grandmother can do it. It's meant to be that easy. There's a whole backend data center which has the cloud and the data analysis, and you can identify all patients, retrieve the information at any point, and then we've got a very strong ground game with implementation, particularly in India, to make sure that this gets deployed at scale. So this is what the instruments look like. They are now CE certified, so they can be sold into Europe. They're regulatory approved in India, in Angola, DRC, Kenya, Ghana, and we are under submission for FDA and also for 450s in Mexico. That's what the software looks like at the back end, and on the PZDX is the platform on the Android. So it's pretty easy to use system. It's never lose the hub, so it's always connected. Whenever you turn the hub on, it connects to the phone. The software for both the user the interface on the phone as well as the firmware is always upgraded through the internet. You never have to bring the device back. You can add as many tests as you want. There's multi-language support. You can, all of the data is stored on HIPAA compliant platforms. And we have, state-of-the-art data security and data privacy, and it's built for scale. We can add many more tests. This is what the back end looks like. You can slice and dice based on any parameter. and patient acquisition trends and so forth. We have data traceability. We can track every single device, and we have bank level security to log into the systems. So basically, it's an integrated instrument. It's transparent, easy to use, real-time data, easy to carry, and instant results. These are the parameters that you can actually test on it: height, weight, BMI, blood pressure, oxygen saturation, pulse. You can do blood-based parameters, everything on that one instrument: blood grouping, glucose, hemoglobin, cholesterol, uric acid. We can do RDTs for everything, and now very soon for COVID as well, and then urine parameters. All of these are validated tests. They're all CE or CNF FDA-approved tests, which is how we're able to get this out. We are moving into AI-driven microscopy. So basically, we already have a 5-part differential for white blood count. We're adding to that with sickle cell anemia and malaria, and a preliminary screening for tuberculosis. And then we'll move beyond biochemistry, and then we have parts of this which incorporate AI in ways that I'll tell you about just in a second. Actually, this is slightly dated. So we have over 800,000 patients and over 2 million tests performed already. We were all on track to be at 15 million tests by the end of the year, but we've been a little disrupted by COVID, but we hope to pick up the pace once the lockdowns remove and to go back into achieving that number. We've been compared against other standard lab equipment by external consultants, and we win on both technical convenience and user convenience because there's no need for extensive training. It can be done by literally anyone. A 10-year-old could use the machine. It's that easy. And it's really meant to be intuitive in the way that, again, I bring you back to the mainframe computer. A mainframe computer is not an intuitive device to use, whereas an iPad or a laptop is intuitive. And our aim was to be at that end of where these machines should be. And on technical performance and on commercials, we cover far more tests than most of these platforms. Our test time is in minutes compared to much longer there because you have to take samples to a lab. And in all of our tests, we only use capillary blood, not whole blood. So, so there's no need for a venous draw. And our average cost, the machine sells for about $1,200 to $1,500. The cost per test is, anywhere from 20 cents to about $4 and can be used in a range of settings. We've unveiled a COVID screening platform, which has screening tests for, risk factors, for severity markers, which were already baked into our platform: D-dimer, LDH, procalcitonin, and CRP, and troponin I. We have developed an antibody test that we're in the middle of validating, and we should have that by June of this year. It's going through, final tests both in the US and in India. And we have a teleconsultation bit which can connect you directly to a doctor. Last year, we were in the top 4 of in the telemed category for the UCSF Digital Health Awards. The other 3 2 were unicorns. One was already publicly traded, Doctor on Demand, and the other one was American Well. We were surprised to be in a final 4 like that with hundreds of entries, but I think it validates this idea that telemedicine is a bit useless without actually having a diagnostic platform at the end of the patient. Otherwise, it's just a video platform connecting to experts. So, we're deployed around in Africa and India mostly. We work with the Gates Foundation in Kenya. We have partnerships with the Aditya Birla Group, with the government of India, and many state governments as well. As I mentioned, we're an ISO 13485 company. We're C certified, and we're proof of sale in a number of countries. We mostly charge for the device, the consumables, a maintenance fee, and then add-on services. And there's permutations and combinations of that depending on the customer. In some cases, we don't even sell the device. We just go out and screen. So, for instance, in one state in India, they asked us to screen every child in that district, in a particular district in Mehboob for anemia, height, weight, and BMI, and they paid us on the basis of per child, and we did that. So we have an implementation model as well. So as I mentioned, we have over 800,000 patients registered, over 2 million diagnostic tests completed, 9 countries in which we're implanted. We've raised both a seed round and a Series A, which we did about a year. We have probably another 18 months runway, but we're looking to raise another round now to be able to enter the US. We have a great board. Vivek Wadhwa is a tech guru in the Bay Area. Jim Doty took Accuray, which makes a cyber knife public, and he's also a neurosurgeon at Stanford. And Ms. Rajni Birla is, she's the matriarch of the Aditya Birla Group. And I think our keys to success are that we started with, we wanted to scale fast. So we had a very fast go-to-market with a basic device, learned what customers wanted rather than building out a really fancy device. And we've sort of iterated in that way, and that allowed us to bootstrap for a while. We want to be the first point of contact with formal healthcare for many people. And a lot of people really have not had that. But there's also use case, whether it's in the Bay Area or in the Gulf states, that people need access to diagnostics very quickly. We have a strong operational game, and we have a very clear order pipeline and a really, really good team. Now, we're looking to raise a Series B, probably starting in the next couple of months. And the whole idea is to raise $15 million to actually start expanding into Europe. Although we're approved for sale in Europe, we haven't started selling into Europe yet, and we need to raise money to do that. We've submitted our FDA, we've done the pre-submission, and we'll do the full submission probably in the next 2 months. And we need to build out a next generation device that will be a home use device in US and Europe. So that's fundamentally what we are. I'm happy to take questions. Thanks for the opportunity.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so judges, you guys want to ask some questions?
And maybe a quick question, if I can start off here, right? You talked about capillary blood flow, and I'm assuming you have a consumable that goes with your hub, which helps in the capillary blood flow, and then a microfluidics device or something which you insert into the hub, right? Or how's the workpoint there? I just wanted to make sure.
That's exactly right. So you basically, you go through the software. It tells you at which point you need to enter the cartridge into the device, and at which point how you exactly put the capillary blood onto that strip, and then the machine reads it, and in about, depending on the test, between 5 and about 20 seconds, you have the result on your phone again. So that's exactly right. So it's a pretty simple workflow, but the software walks you through that workflow.
Okay, and it's a image processing based diagnostics. Is that right? Yeah. You don't have reagents to be used or anything, right? Or do you have?
Well, no, there are dry reagents used as well. It's not all image. So the image is for the LFAs, but for instance, for the so the whole idea was to construct a device not based on a technology platform, but based on what users really want. So a user might want a variety of things, some of which might require biochemistry, some of which may require vitals. For instance, you can go onto Alibaba, you won't find anything which is a medical device, which is blood pressure, pulse oximetry, all combined with in vitro diagnostics. That combination doesn't exist because people think of devices very much in technology rather than from a use case. And from a use case perspective, and we sell to doctors, we have over 200 devices that are sold to doctors already. Doctors love it because it's small, it's the size of a small dictionary, and they get to have all of these tests on their desk. And they can do a full 12-lead ECG. They can also do their blood pressure, but they can also do tests for malaria, dengue, chikungunya, all in that platform.
Thank you.
I mean, you see, it's a question of thinking about what you're making the product for, and we were not interested in making a technology product. My own background is my background is in global health, and I'm trained as an engineer, but I came to it very much from a global health use case.
Thank you.
Judges, other questions?
Yeah, just two quick questions. One on the market side and one on the technology side. On the technology side, just curious how much blood, since you said you can draw it from the calorie. Do you need to do multiple tests? Because I've seen devices in the past that the device is great, but then the realistic, it become harder because they need to draw too much. So it's not really reliable. And on the market side, you said you started in India. Just wondering what are some of the difficulties distributing and selling in India that you have faced so far, and how's the revenue growth?
So that's two questions. So first is capillary blood. So in our workflow, you only need to prick a patient once, and that's enough capillary blood flow to do about 4 tests. So if you want to do more tests, you would have to prick them twice, but very rarely do you have to do more than 4 tests. So I think that the workflow is optimized to just do 1 prick capillary, and then that's enough to do about 4 tests. And all of our tests are validated for capillary blood. And so these are tests that have been around for a while in terms of sensors, which is why we're able to make the technology available at a price point which is in the $1,200 price range, as opposed to being in the $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 price range. Now, India, as you know, is a very price-sensitive market. So it's something which it sells really well in India. Doctors love it because you think of the average doctor's office, they don't really have much by way of technology. They have maybe a smartphone, they have a BP cuff. They don't really have much technology per se. And India has 600,000 doctors and probably another 2.5 million sort of medical providers who think of themselves as doctors. So that market has really taken off. We started selling there only about 6 months ago. In the first month, we sold 2 devices. And by December, we were selling about 65 per month. So that was scaling pretty fast. Apart from that, we have an institutional pipeline, which is really about selling to governments and to corporate social responsibility and to development partners and institutions like hospitals and so forth. And that was, so we have these 2 lines of business. One is directly to doctors, and the other one is this other part. But the place we want to go to with the Series B is to have a scaled down version of this device that could be a home use device. You could have one, you should have one at home, so that you can pretty much do any test that you want. And if COVID breaks out, we ship you the COVID test, or something else breaks out, that we actually are able to respond to what is needed. Eventually, people will have to bring health into their homes. And it can't be something which is either only telemedicine off of a screen or something which you have to go to the doctor's office.